Hello everyone, and welcome to Between Us. I'm Raul.
And I'm Afonso. Today, we want to take you on a journey back to a time when being an adult felt like a distant, almost magical dream. A time when we believed that growing up meant endless freedom and happiness.
But now that we're here, the question is, what happened to that dream? Did reality steal the magic, or did we grow up to discover something even more valuable?
Do you remember how everything seemed possible when we were children? When you grow up, you will be able to do whatever you want. That sentence sounded like a promise of endless happiness.
And there was so much innocence in that belief. Being an adult meant eating ice cream for breakfast, never having to ask permission to play or go out with friends. It seemed like such simple freedom.
But no one told us that freedom came with difficult choices, that ability to do anything is limited by the consequences of every decision.
Perhaps that's what stings a little when we grow up. It's not that the promise was a lie, but that it didn't tell the whole story.
Growing up is realizing there are bills to pay, relationships to manage, a world to understand. But it's also discovering that even inside the challenge, there's beauty.
Yes, like that feeling of looking at something you have achieved through your own effort. It might seem small to the world, but to you it's enormous. That's when the magic of childhood transforms into the depth of adulthood.
But let's admit it, there are moments when nostalgia hits hard. When we look back at the time when our biggest worry was deciding what game to play next. And we feel an almost physical longing for it.
Maybe that's what makes us human. The ability to dream about the future while keeping the past in a special place within us. There comes a point in life when we start feeling an invisible pressure. The pressure to be someone, to succeed, to achieve something big, to not disappoint.
And that idea often comes from outside, from school, family, social media. But soon it starts living inside us too. As if our existence needs to be justified by some grand accomplishment.
When we were kids, just being was enough. Playing, imagining, dreaming, that was meaningful. And suddenly, being that way doesn't seem to be enough anymore.
But maybe we should return to that simplicity. Maybe being someone doesn't have to mean being famous, healthy or flawless. Maybe it means being kid or kind, being true to ourselves, being someone others can count on.
Because in the end, growing up also means choosing who we want to be, not based on expectations, but based on what makes us feel whole.
So, what do we do with these broken promises and adjusted dreams? Perhaps the secret lies in looking at life with the same sparkle in our eyes we had as children.
Because, deep down, the child we once were never really left us. They're still there, reminding us how good it is to love, how important it is to stop and appreciate the sky, how the world can still be full of magic, if we know where to look.
And if being an adult is different from what we manage, perhaps it's because we grew up not to lose the magic, but to learn how to create it.
The question we leave for you, our listeners, is this. What would the child you once were say about the adult you've become?
One of the strangest things about growing up is how invisible the extraordinary becomes. The same streets you used to race through on our bikes now feel like an ordinary routine.
But maybe the magic never left. Maybe we just stopped paying attention. As kids, we looked at puzzles and saw oceans. We built castles from couch cushions. We looked up at the sky and imagined entire worlds.
And we can still do that in different ways. There's wonder in watching someone you love low at something silly. and finally making time to read that book and noticing the sunlight hit your window just right.
Maybe part of becoming an adult is learning how to see again, not just with our eyes, but with curiosity, with presence, with that same spark we had when everything was new.
Because when we stop rushing, even for a moment, we start to feel it. That quiet sense of more than do the lists, more than expectations, just life asking to be noticed. This has been a more reflective episode, and we hope it's touched something within you. Because growing up is complex, messy even, but it's also deeply human.
Maybe adulthood isn't the grand adventure we imagined, but it's still an adventure. One where the dragons we face are real. Doubts, fears, responsibilities, and the victories are quieter, but no less meaningful.
Sometimes, it's just getting out of bed on a hard day, or showing up for someone when you're tired, or even forgiving yourself for not having it all figured out.
And maybe that's where the beauty lies. Not in having a perfect life, but in living a real one. When where you fall, you rise, you grow, and you keep going. Not despite the imperfections, but because of them.
So, if today you feel a little lost, or like the adult version of you isn't quite what you dreamed, know this. You are not alone. We are all learning. We are all trying.
And maybe the child you once were wouldn't be disappointed at all. Maybe they would be proud of how far you've come, even if the roads look different than expected.
Until then, take a deep breath, be kind to yourself, and remember, the magic isn't gone. It's just waiting for you to notice it again. Thank you for being with us. Until next time, bye.
In the next episode, we'll talk about how to reconnect with our younger selves. Not to go back, but to remember what still matters. Until then...